touched on something earlier. You talked about like the benefits of doing digital marketing as opposed to just offline stuff, like the way people used to do it. So what would you say, what are the advantages then of doing digital marketing with like real estate syndication?
That's a really good question. And the simple answer to that question is you can do 1,000 times the same amount of work in the same time. It's really as simple as that. And I'll explain what I mean by that. For anybody who has raised money online, who has raised money for real estate, like I have, through my entire career, it involves figuring out how to get introductions, right? So calling a lawyer, calling a wealth manager, an accountant, joining a country club is the classic, the cliche. You join the fancy country club, you get to meet people, you go to charity events, you spend all your life networking, number one. So that's a lot of time taken. Secondly, then when you get a lead, now you got to arrange to meet them. You print out your pitch, you produce your pitch deck, you print out, you go meet them. And for an hour, hour and a half, that first meeting, either for lunch or at the country club or in your office, in their office, whatever, you're going to pitch them. You're going to tell them your whole story. They want to know your background, your track record. They want to get to know you, right? That's the first thing. Several years later, they might invest with you, right? Basically, if you're lucky, it might only take a few months for them to invest. Anybody listening, just think about every investor you've got. What was the path that took you to that? The first meeting, the second meeting. I was talking to one guy recently, said, yes, one of my best investors, I actually had to bail his son out of jail. Think of all those crazy things that you've had to do, right? To kind of create this relationship. All right. And that's always been done in person because that's always been the only way you could do it, right? The law said that's how you have to. Now you can speak your background on a video, just like you and I are doing. You can talk your background, you can explain your background, you can tell your story, and you can create a relationship. And you only need to do it once, because then you put it on your website, you put it on social media, and your prospects now discover you because you have what I call this bait plume on social media, which is all your content out there. They discover you and they come and consume all this content that you've produced on your website. Guess what? Now they learn about you. You don't actually ever have to talk to them. They will come to you and put their hand up and say, I would like to invest with you. And the first time you speak to them, they already know you. They already like you. They're inclined to trust you, right? The know, like, and trust classic digital marketing sequence. And all that's left is for you to carry them over the finish line to close the deal. That's and therefore the big difference is, instead of having to do it that same thing every single time you meet a new investor, you only do it one time. And now 1,000 investors or 10,000 or 100,000 can get to know you from one pitch that you make or from one set of content that you make. That's the big difference.
Yeah. Okay. It's really powerful because, instead of a one-to-one type relationship building thing, it's a one-to-many. I mean, lots of people are essentially building a relationship with you, even if you're unaware of them at the moment.
That's exactly right. And it's funny that you say that it's one-to-many. It is one-to-many. From your perspective as a developer raising money, it is one-to-many. Like, my stuff's out there now. I'm probably getting emails from people that have consumed a ton of my stuff, and I have no idea who they are. But from their perspective, it's one-to-one. That's right. Very important. They are establishing a relationship with you. And that's why it's so powerful. It's like leveraging your time. It's like duplicating your time and having a kind of a duplicate out there doing all this work for you. Right? It's like that Calvin. Do you remember that Calvin and Hobbes cartoon where Calvin creates a transmogrifier? It has this machine that duplicates himself, and he tries to get himself to go and do his homework and everything. Well, it's the same idea. You can create thousands of you to communicate with prospects.